the physical aspect is really low hanging fruit for a lot of people. Where if you're not doing strength training, exercise on a regular basis, you're really missing out on not only the health benefit, but the benefit for your game. I think that the biggest thing is when people don't have that, they come in thinking, even though I mentioned flexibility, oh, I need to stretch, I need to stretch more, I need to stretch more, I need to stretch more. But that may be the case in some instances, but most of the time people need a strength program.
Welcome to another episode of Grab Coffee with me, where great conversations and even better coffee meet purpose, leadership, and the people making an impact in their communities and industries. Today's episode is brought to you by Dowden Golf Solutions, transforming corporate events one golf experience at a time. I'm your host, Ian Peterson. Let's pod. Today, we have a guest that focuses on bridging healthcare, performance, and a great culture to one cohesive model. The founder and operator of Florida Physio, a premium physical therapy and performance practice, Dr. Leighton Peebler. Leighton, thanks for joining me. Oh, I forgot to mention, loving husband and father of two,
Oh
and
yeah.
a great golfer. We even though this pod isn't about golf, everybody I seem to have met has been through golf. So thanks for joining us, Leighton.
I think that Tiger was one of the greats. I was one of the tie for 40th place in college golf. So you go do something else,
There you go.
that kind
So
of thing.
I was going to ask you, how did you get into physical therapy, being a golfer
Yeah.
yourself? So how did that happen?
Was on the golf team in college.
Mm-hmm.
And just that when you're kind of the sixth man, seventh man, the Rudiger of the team,
Mm-hmm.
a professional career isn't for you. My dad was a professional golfer and in the business and told me to stay far away from that. And so I was always a little better at school, and it took some time to figure out that physical therapy was the track, but I knew that I wanted to help people in some capacity, whether that was through education or some kind of healthcare field, and PT. With my exercise background, I was kind of drawn to that for sure.
Cool, great. Now this podcast is about drinking coffee and having great conversation. So I see you're a coffee drinker. What is your go-to coffee order?
Well, this is so ironic today because I'm not typically a peppermint mocha kind of guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I flew in from New Mexico late last night. Uh, I found a 5 a.m. guy at my office and ran through Starbucks because there's no groceries in the house. My wife and kids are still with her family in New Mexico coming back today. And
Nice.
so I went with a holiday thing, but I'm usually a early morning with my dog,
Good.
5 a.m., black coffee out of the pot kind of
Gotcha.
guy. And I'll even throw a few ice cubes in it just to get
Mm-hmm.
it done and down, get the caffeine in me and get going for the day. Cause we have a lot of 5 or 6 a.m. clients here at the office.
Yeah. So we now know that you're a physical therapist. When you meet somebody for the first time, what do you tell them that you do?
Hmm. That's changed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
People have certain ideas of what a physical therapist is. And so I don't really try to get into that as much as here's a good example. If I was like playing golf and someone, what do you do for work? I would say I help golfers improve their flexibility. And then it creates a dynamic where the conversation, well, how do you do that? Well, my background is I'm a PT. So if the golfer's hurt, I'll use some rehab principles, or if they need an exercise routine, I'll help them develop that over time to, you know, it's probably more, the answer today is probably more I help golfers reach their full potential, whether that's get out of pain first and then move across the spectrum into a performance plan, which would be strength training for men's or women's health, strength training for golf, sports performance. Like speed training is really fun and exciting and works really well when it's done right.
Yeah. Now I know you have some other things in the works. I've been to your office before. It was 1,500 square foot space. A lot going on. So explain to us what else you have in the works. What can we look forward to with Florida Physio and some of the ideas that you have?
Yeah, well, Florida Physio was a name that came from my honeymoon where my wife is a physical therapist on the
Hmm.
tennis tour, and we met this Australian couple while we were in Germany who were there also on their honeymoon, and they called us the physios, excuse me, from Florida. And in America, everyone calls them physical therapists, but on the tennis tour all over the world, physical therapists are known as physios. And so Florida Physio came about, but no one really knows what that means.
Hmm.
It's kind of a bad name. It's on my golf bag, and people say Florida Psycho. What is that about? And so, and it's kind of ironic because we have had an identity crisis. We do have a great culture and clientele, but some of those people were coming for physical therapy. Some of them weren't golfers. Some of them were coming to work on clubhead speed, and so you'd have a dynamic where Hilda would be rehabbing her knee replacement, a non-golfer, and 10 feet away, a 25-year-old aspiring pro is hammering drivers into a simulator, and so we were on top of each other and it was loud, and we had an opportunity to take over essentially our whole building, and phase one of that is done with expanding the physical therapy side to 3,000 feet. And Studio Golf, who I'm in a partnership with, we're going to put another approximately 5,000 square feet of Studio Golf right next door. And so that golfer's physical health spectrum will actually be
Nice.
true where, hey, I'm hurt, go see the physical therapist at Florida Physio, rehab your elbow. And as you get better, you'll get handed off to a trainer or instructor at Studio Golf, which is non-rehab, but more about performance-based services, indoor golf, a performance-based country club.
Yeah, I will be sure to include your location in the podcast notes. But for those that are in the Tampa Bay area, you're very centralized. You over by St. Pete Clearwater Airport, across the street from Boscombe Steakhouse that's been there for
Yeah.
years. They're on Olmerton Road. So I know exactly where you are. Hopefully, by me talking about this, they know where they can find you, but I will also include that in the show notes. We kind of started around the same time. Dalvin Golf Solutions, Florida Physio about 8 years ago, a little over 8 years ago. What's one lesson you learned the hard way that kind of changed how you operate today?
The one that stands there's a lot of
Yeah,
lessons.
yeah, they are.
The one that stands out, like we could go pragmatically and talk about pricing and things, but
Hmm.
also on the more less pragmatic, the humility part is kind of recognizing where I was lacking and had weaknesses and finding whether it was a mentor or a class or leadership training or just finding the individuals
Hmm.
to come be a part of that. Like I'm such a emotional feel kind of guy, whereas, we still have to make the math. And so I have this great accountant, Nathaniel Snoddy, and I have this great clinic director and operator who they share kind of dual roles in Paige and
Hmm.
Kristen. And, they protect the business from me. And so, you know, the biggest thing was recognizing the hard way where I was lacking, and then either getting better in those categories or finding someone who could do it. And that seems to be the ticket because I can buy myself some time back.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
about you? What
Oh
about you to
wow,
throw it back?
that is funny. That is a great question because we can go into pricing, right? Because when I first started, I had no idea what to charge for certain things. There were not many people doing what we do. But I would say understanding what my weaknesses are and finding people that can succeed in those areas. Once again, to your point, to freeing you up to do some things, especially focusing on what your strengths are to help, kind of build my company, Dowden Golf Solutions. But there's been many lessons. And it doesn't stop. There'll be many more lessons. Even though we've been in business over 8 years, I still feel that we are a new business. I, in my
Hmm.
mind, know we can go even further, but I have to, and you know how it is being a founder, owner, operator. You think you can do it all. You really can't do it all. So, really humbling, myself, looking for those people that can actually succeed in areas in which I know I can't, or even have time to. So that's a great question. And thanks for
Yeah, yeah,
throwing it back at me.
yeah.
Certainly
I share
learning
the same.
every single day I'm learning. Let's talk a little bit about golf. You have seen over 2,000 golfers since you've been in business. What is the biggest mistake you see golfers making when it comes to pain and performance?
I will preface in that there's you could almost chalk it up. There's four categories that you could work on to get better at golf. Certainly, seeing a professional for lessons or playing more golf, like working on the game itself, is the best way, maybe 90% of it. Another category that's really high is equipment getting fitted properly. But once people have kind of gone down that road and exhausted those options with the $800 TaylorMade driver every year and tons of lessons and they're stalled out, you can go one path down like the mental side. That'd be
Hmm.
option third, and do something like decade golf or learn about stats and or sports psychology maybe and read some Bob Votella or something. And then the physical aspect, of course, we know at the PGA Tour and professional levels is so big, but the physical aspect is really low hanging fruit for a lot of people. Where if you're not doing strength training, exercise on a regular basis, you're really missing out on not only the health benefit, but the benefit for your game. And I think that the biggest thing is when people don't have that, they come in thinking, even though I mentioned flexibility, oh, I need to stretch, I need to stretch more, I need to stretch more, I need to stretch more. But that may be the case in some instances, but most of the time people need a strength program. They need to be able to, we know we lose muscle mass at like 1% a year after the age of 40 until the end. And you can augment that through strength training. And I think of it like getting up from a chair. If I can squat twice my body weight, which is crazy to scare someone off that would be coming here, but the threshold for me standing up in a chair is really easy. And if you go to a nursing home for someone who hasn't done strength work or something, they really have trouble getting up from a chair. And so keeping your strength threshold here as you age or even level, and all those activities become easier. Whereas as strength goes down and I continue the same activities, I end up, over swinging and getting hurt or doing something I'm not supposed to. And it ain't easy.
Yeah.
It's a simple answer: do more
Hmm.
strength training, but it ain't easy.
Hmm.
But it does move the needle.
Yeah, yeah, very true. Running both healthcare and performance under one roof can get kind of tricky, messy, I guess. How do you keep alignment without burning or overcomplicating things, without burning out or overcomplicating things?
Well, people are going to be upset, I think, initially, but also people are going to realize the importance of it is, myself and Dr. Don, we kind of wear three hats sometimes. We become the physical therapist, the strength coach, and almost like the pseudo golf instructor, especially if someone's hurt and we're trying to show them how to move properly. You become kind of watered down in those three categories. Whereas now that we have the space and the staff, I know that Brandon Blank over at Studio Golf is a way better instructor than I am. And he's gonna be able to hear from me, hey, this guy's got a low back problem and he's early extending. He's gonna be able to take them the rest of the way and improve their performance to hit more greens in regulation and shoot lower scores or something. And so,
Gotcha.
we really got to define who people are: golf instructor, trainer, physical therapist, versus maybe me wearing all three hats
Hmm.
and tackling it that way, because it will, um, those, frankly, there's people that are just better at those other things than I am. And just like Brandon would never try to rehab a back, he would send them over to
Yeah,
me or
yeah,
something.
yeah. That makes sense. So let's talk about, I would say, the more important thing, right? Family. Family always come first. Family is extremely important, which I see. I see within you. I see in your posts, not only with your wife and kids, but also with your, like, I see you with your dad. That relationship is great. But you're serious about that. What boundaries or non-negotiables help you build business that support life instead of consuming life?
Man, this is a great question for me in 2026,
Yeah.
because it has been a boundary issue for me
Hmm.
that I'm very public about, where I would go from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. or later, day after day after day after
Hmm.
day after day. I knew the old adage of your kids grow up before you know it.
Yeah.
Certainly, the scale at which we've grown the last year and a half has allowed me to step away more. And so I end early now on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And at least 2, if not 3 of those days, I picked my kids up from school. I was
Mhm.
able to coach T-ball this year, and this is not because of things that I changed personally, boundaries, because my team, like I mentioned, they're better at certain things, and they
Yeah.
stepped up to the plate for me, kinda saw the path I was going down and recognized that, and, our clinic director, Kristen, our kids go to school with our kids, and
Oh,
so you can't hide, like, "I'm going back to work, I'm leaving my kids at school," but, it's family both in my own household that's number one, and then you have that kinda extra layer of family that we moved to Florida. We don't have a lot of family here. My brother's here now, and,
mhm.
staying connected with my parents in Illinois and another part
Yeah.
of Florida, and then my wife's family, and then what's cool is, there's a family here. We all kind of look out for each other as a team, and, it's a nice thing for sure. But being a dad it's the best role of my life, and I just they're 5 and 3, and that's all I can't even talk about my
Yeah.
kids without choking up. It's what I was meant to do, you know?
Love seeing it. I love seeing the smiles. They look just like you too. It's just like, man, I see little Leighton in both of them. So that's
I
great.
think,
They look like you to me.
no, I'm supposed to say they look like my wife, man. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. No, they look like
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
I
it
see the
is
clock.
fun.
I see the clock behind you. I know you're a busy guy and you have
No, it's
some
okay.
appointments coming up. So we're gonna
Yeah,
end
yeah.
with this one. Oh, actually two more. What excites you most about the future of healthcare and performance, where they're headed, and where you see yourself playing in that future role?
You know, there's so many rabbit holes I could go down, but I'll put in a plug for studio golf again.
Hmm.
The indoor golf space has expanded dramatically over the last several years, especially post COVID. And it would appear that the market is saturated because they pop up left and right. And you're certainly in that TrackMan world. The thing is, it's really not that saturated. But of what there is, a lot of them are that bar model, kind of
Hmm.
the bowling alley,
Hmm.
get chicken wings and drink. And one thing that's happening that's really cool to me is people are, I'm not a big drinker. People are drinking a lot less and focusing on
Yeah.
their fitness and health. And so, you know, whether it's supplements or getting an edge on this or taking a medication to help lose weight, exercise and health piece is growing like crazy. Unhealthy habits like alcohol, for example, are going down. And so we're kind of in the middle of that where we're going to call ourselves like health, not hangovers when it comes to indoor golf. Now, we'll have a beer and wine license. There's certainly a
Hmm.
time and place for that. But it will be more about the health fitness side of things where we can leverage making your golf game better but also making the quality of your life better, and that's what's exciting to me is using golf as a tool for that to help people.
So, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, leave my audience with a gem. Those looking to start their own business, to start their own practice, what can they learn from you, from Dr. Leighton Peebler?
Entrepreneurship or owning a business has, you can think about all the professional growth and impact, but there's this dynamic where you personally grow,
Mhm.
both like from a spiritual or emotional or a mental health standpoint. It forces you to really take a look at yourself. And, I'm far from perfect on things, trust me, the skeletons I have and things that, but it makes you really, really look at yourself deep inside, and you learn a lot about yourself and how to improve yourself when it comes to um, having a business that really a community relies on you or a staff relies on you to feed their family, and you got to make payroll or you got to figure out what's best for your clients with the next move, and it's man, it makes me almost choke up because the decisions become bigger than just me,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's that's what's cool, and there's no way I could go directly work for someone else because I like the bigger picture ideas and the vision, and making a difference and an impact that way.
yeah. Leighton, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. Again, thanks for joining me for a virtual cup of coffee. We have to get together soon. I need to stop back at your office. It's been a minute. Look forward to catching up. And then to my
Let me
audience, yeah, I'll let you know.
let
I'll
me
send you.
yeah, let me host some golf. I got
Okay,
Tuesdays and Fridays are really good days for me lately.
okay, okay,
Um, we're working a live golf event next week, but after that, let's get on the calendar. I want to
okay.
host you at Feather Sound or something.
All right, sounds good. And to my
All
audience,
right.
thank you for listening to another episode of Grab Coffee with me, caffeinated by Dalton Golf Solutions. If you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on all major streaming platforms so you don't miss what's brewing next. Until next time, keep your coffee strong and your conversations meaningful. Thanks again, Lee.
Thanks. See ya.